I realized that the way that I'm gonna try to think about it in the future is actually not so much about ticking boxes of like this kind of movie or this kind of character, because the more that I've been able to work and work with really incredible people, the people that really leave an impression on me are the people who seem happy, people who are working and loving their work and also loving the life that they live, and they've found this balance. I'm Anna Kendrick, and this is the timeline of my career.
Excuse me, is there some place we're supposed to check in?
Over there. Is this your first summer?
No, I was here last year. Remember? We were in Night Mother together.
So Camp is the first movie I ever did. Well, I actually got involved in that project because the director was cousins of Randy Graff, who was in the Broadway show that I did when I was 12 years old. So she was like, if you're looking for a girl who could play my character in that film, the creepiest, most obsessive weirdo of all time, I've got just the girl for you. The blessing about that film was that it was, because it was non-union, it was everybody's first film. So it was a lot of anxiety, but we had the blessing of like, no cast member knew anything, so you were allowed to ask questions and be an idiot and not feel quite as much shame. And at the time, I mean, you couldn't tell me that these people were not my family and that we were not bonded for life. Like, this was the most significant experience I had ever had, and when I left, I was sobbing. It was like a break. I cut my hair, I did like all the breakup stuff. I was inconsolable. Like, I'm used to it now, but it is a really bizarre, like, all-consuming experience, and that's why you get these kind of heightened things, and that's why people fall in love with each other, and that's why Christian Bale yells at his DP, and it's all just part of, like, what happens. You just go slightly crazy.
You're Jill Simmons. My name's Fritzy.
She's got a great spike, huh? I'm Jessica, by the way. Hey, you're from Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Aren't people from Arizona supposed to be like really tan?
I auditioned for Twilight because Catherine Hardwicke had seen me in a film at Sundance called Rocket Science and asked me to come in and audition, and I really thought it was such a blow-off audition. I just thought like, well, I'll do as well as I can so that the casting director like thinks of me for other stuff. And I actually saw my friend Mae Whitman at that audition, and we were both like, what are we doing here? Like, we're obviously not gonna be this like mean girl character. Yeah, like got that job, which was, I mean, truly like such a shock. The first movie we filmed in Portland, Oregon, and I just remember being so cold and miserable. And I just remember my Converse being completely soaked through and feeling like, you know, this is a really great group of people, and I'm sure that we would be friends in a different time, but I want to murder everyone. Although it was also kind of bonding. There was like something about it that was like, you know, like you go through like some trauma event, like you imagine like people who survive like a hostage situation, and you're kind of bonded for life. The second movie, for whatever reason, like the weather wasn't quite as intense, and that's sort of, I think, where we all got to know each other a little bit better. I was shooting up in the air by the time that we were making that second movie. So they rearranged a lot of scheduling stuff, because it would have been a real dick move, but you know, legally they had the right to stop me from doing Up in the Air. So shout out to those guys.
Why are there that many zombie movies anyway? So it's supposed to like draw a parallel.
Our answers were things like astronaut, president, or in my case, a princess. When we were 10, they asked again. We answered rock star, cowboy, or in my case, a gold medalist. But now that we've grown up, they want a serious answer. They all start to blend into one at some point, because my whole job was just to go like, this family of very pale people who we never see eating, they're really weird, right? Anyway, what did I do in the third movie? Oh, I did the graduation speech in the third movie, that's right. And I remember thinking like, oh, why did they make my character the valedictorian? Like, she's very obviously not a good student, but you know, they just wanted me to like have something to do. Because it was a speech, I just like did what was scripted. And I swear that scene, people are like, you know, that speech that you give in that third movie, it's really sweet, it's really moving. And I swear to God, I'm like, the thing that is happening is you are looking at Kristen Stewart's reaction to that speech, and that is the thing that is moving you. Because I was like, I did all right, but I was just kind of like, I don't know, I'm reading this speech. And then it cuts to Kristen, she's so moved because she's so talented that I was like, oh, people are like, that speech is so amazing. And I'm like, no, it's just her, she's great. So I was in the fourth movie, and it was just like a wedding scene where, again, I'm like, these people are so weird. And you're in like just half frozen mud in what was the final scene of filming for everybody. You know, it's like I get to come in and, you know, work for a week or two, and everybody else has been like giving their blood, sweat, and tears to the project for months. I show up at the end and I'm like, guys, we did it, it's over.
That's so funny.
No.
You never want to get married.
Nope.
Never want kids.
Not a chance.
Ever.
Never. Is that so bizarre?
Yes.
So Up in the Air was, you know, a script I got. It was like this really high profile thing, this amazing part, opposite George Clooney. And, well, I'll go in and I'll do my best and, you know, they'll give it to somebody more famous. I remember my agents calling me a couple days after my audition and being like, okay, we're pretty sure that an offer is coming in. And I was like, you weren't in the room. Because I was just totally convinced that I'd left no impression. And basically spent the first weeks of filming thinking like, I'll just enjoy this, and you know, I'll be like is it Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future, where it's like a funny story that like initially they hired somebody else. Clooney was so classy, man. I know that everybody describes him that way, but it's just, you know, on my first day, he was like, so do you get nervous? I get nervous. In retrospect, bullshit. No, he doesn't. But it was such a generous thing to say to me, and I believed it at the time, and I was like, oh, we're the same. Which is the whole point. You know, he's so good at disarming people and trying to get them to forget that he's international movie star George Clooney. I just couldn't have asked for a better, I guess, like Sherpa, you know, in that situation, to just see like, how does somebody handle themselves? You know, everybody's looking to them for the tone, and you know, the kind of manner in which we're all gonna treat each other. I was doing one of my first interviews about the movie with Jason Bateman, and he made, you know, an innocuous comment to me about how I might need to be picking out a nice dress in the spring. It just totally threw me that anybody would genuinely be thinking that, so it felt like a little funny joke. I guess in retrospect, like, of course, I wish I could have just accepted that and seen it for what it was, which was just a compliment, that anybody would be saying that. I'm kind of glad that I at least had the presence of mind at the time to go, Anna, you might look back on this time and get mad at yourself for not enjoying it more. So I want you to actually take in like how overwhelming this is and how much pressure there is, and how you have no idea how to navigate it, and that's okay. It kind of lets me at least kind of let my younger self off the hook a little bit.
Yes, it is.
I just don't see the value in it.
You know what we should really talk about is you have trash on your floor, and there's no reason, I mean, you know, at least have a bag in the back to put the trash in.
Adam, your girlfriend cheated on you. We don't have to talk about it. We don't have to.
50-50 was like the first time that I felt like I kind of pulled a little bait and switch on someone, because on paper, she felt really similar to my character from Up in the Air. And I knew that that was like why they hired me. I just wanted to make her like really soft. You know, Natalie in Up in the Air is like trying so hard to be a hard ass. And this wasn't a far cry from that, just on the page. I did worry that I would get there and that Jonathan Levine, the director, would like tell me to basically play it more like my character from Up in the Air. And he, I feel like, is this weird like Jedi master where like it doesn't feel like he's doing a lot, and then every movie he does is like, why does this have this much heart? You know, things like Warm Bodies or The Long Shot, those movies have no right to make me cry. yeah, he just really like didn't shy away from that vulnerability.
I just broke up with somebody recently myself. So, yeah. 17 years old, scandal.
That's not true. Who told you?
Wallace, duh.
So Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, I just did because I loved Edgar Wright's movies. I loved Shaun of the Dead and I loved Hot Fuzz. And he knows this, that to this day, Hot Fuzz is my second favorite film of all time. The Women is the first favorite film. Hot Fuzz is a close second. Often when I read a script, like the pace at which I can get through a script is a test of like how exciting the movie is to me. And there are exceptions to that rule, and Scott Pilgrim is one of those exceptions. That movie on paper is so bizarre and like there's like nothing to hold on to. It's so insane, and suddenly there's somebody singing and fighting like video game style, but up until that point there's been no indication that it's like a video game movie. So why are you fighting? Why is he flying? Why does he have like demon hipster chicks as his backup fighters / backup singers? And actually that was one of the early scenes that I did, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna be the audience for a second and be like, what is happening? Explain yourself. So that was my motivation for that. And I was not surprised that it ended up in the movie, because I do think that it just lets the audience go, okay, so this is insane. We're all on the same page. Fantastic.
Oh my god. You guys haven't...
No. We haven't.
What do you teach?
I teach at OR. I teach special ed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so you really teach.
And then Drinking Buddies, I didn't receive a single piece of paper the entire time that we were filming. There's no paper. I would just show up and Joe Swanberg, the director, would be like, we'll just see what happens. We'll just like see this scene. I go for this hike with Ron Livingston and I kiss him, and I'm in a relationship with Jake Johnson. And just before we started to shoot that scene, Joe came over, and you know, Ron and I kind of knew what the scene was about, and Joe came over and was kind of talking to us about it and was like, you know, and then you guys will kiss at some point and whatever. And Ron was like, yeah, I mean, if we kiss, if that feels right. And Joe was like, sure, and walked away. And I was like, wait, I think we have to kiss for the you know, certain scenes later to feel right. But then I knew that my character wouldn't ever kiss Ron. And so I was like, oh, I have to get Ron to kiss me. Like the actor and the character, I have to get him to kiss me without betraying my character. So I did this thing, we sat in silence for a long time, and I did the thing that's in the movie of going like, I'm having a really nervous feeling right now. And that he kind of asks me what I'm talking about, and then I'm kind of falling all over myself to apologize, like, oh, I've misread this situation. And then he ends up kissing me. We called cut, and Joe was like, great, do you want to do it again? And I was like, no. Because it was really nerve-wracking. Like, it felt like the real stakes of when you are misreading a situation or you want someone to kiss you. Like, it felt that real and alive, because like nobody told me how to do it. And I started crying. Like I had really cheated, and I really like had to tell my boyfriend now. So it was so fun and terrifying. Like you have all those body responses that you have in real life, where like the hair on your arm stands up and stuff like that. So it was terrifying and like the best.
I find that really impressive.
Well, thank you.
Shorty, get down, good Lord. Woo! Baby got 'em open all over town. Strictly bitch, you don't play around. Cover much ground, got game by the pound.
I mean, every cast member, we've all talked about how the thing that got us excited about that movie is Kay Cannon's writing. You know, she wrote for 30 Rock, and this script was the kind of thing that you read and you think you know what it's gonna be. It's like, okay, it's a competition thing, it's a college thing, we know the beats of this. And then the script was so funny and dark and weird and really kind of pushed what was okay to say. Because at the time I hadn't sung in a film, so I just kind of needed to prove that I could sing. And I actually brought in a cup and was like, I can do this dumb thing, like the cup. And so they put that in the movie. Originally, Becca's audition song in the first movie was I'm a Little Teapot, which I still to this day, I keep meaning to ask Kay Cannon, like, what would that have been? How would that have worked? The director, Jason Moore, and I were like going around like collecting cups that we would just see on set to see like what would make the best sound for that scene. And we had this little collection of like a dozen cups to try once we actually got to that location and could test them out on that stage. Well, coming back to Pitch Perfect 2, it had been several years. The funniest part of it to me was going back to rehearsals and, you know, learning music again, learning the dances again. All the producers and stuff had this mantra of like, well, we're a well-oiled machine this time because we're older and wiser and we know, you know, that we're not going to get into the last-minute changes to all the music and the dancing that we had on the first movie. And it was so much worse. It was so much more changes. Like the finale number we learned like the weekend before we had to shoot it. It was so fun to be back with the cast and also to be like, oh my god, it's exactly the same as the first one, it's even crazier. But I mean, I guess that's the thing, that's the exciting thing. That's why you have all the adrenaline, is because it's like it might fall apart up until the second that you're actually filming it.
Come Santa Claus comes tonight.
Theo, my God, magical ears. Becca,
Hello?
how beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the third one, again, you would think, like, this time we are gonna lock the music and we're gonna lock the choreography before, like, with weeks to spare. And no, right up until the last second. But by that point, we were just like, yeah, but we knew that was gonna happen.
Have a seat, make yourself at home.
Come, little birds, down from the eaves and the leaves over fields out of
I
castles.
think Into the Woods might be the only movie I've ever gotten where I actually cried when I found out that I got the job. It's such an iconic show and it just means so much to me, and it never even occurred to me that I could play Cinderella. When I found out that they were making Into the Woods and they asked me to audition, I was like, oh, for Little Red. Because when you do a stage version of it, usually like an adult woman plays Little Red Riding Hood. They were like, no, we're gonna use an actual child for that. The idea of playing soft, open, vulnerable, full of heart and full of hope Cinderella, you know, just kind of blew me away that Rob Marshall saw that in me. Because Rob is so different from me. Like, there are people that you meet and you're like, one brain, man, and Rob Marshall and I are not that. And it's like, he's so generous, he is so optimistic, he so sees the good in everyone, and I'm so the opposite. So there was a day where James Corden and I were watching Meryl Streep do Last Midnight, and we were like just overwhelmed with like this sense of people would pay so much money to have the view that we have right now, to see Meryl Streep this far away performing Last Midnight, and like, we're the idiots who get to just like be here. You know, this is the kind of thing like you should charge crazy prices for, and we just like get to be here. Yeah, that was an exciting day.
Castles and ponds.
Hi, slut.
Oh, hey. Thanks for the Percocets.
What are you doing here? He doesn't even like you. I mean, he's in mourning for me.
The thing that really stands out to me about Cake is basically how it's just one of the all-time great performances from Jennifer Aniston. And I even remember when we were doing press for it, feeling like she was so humble and she really downplayed everything that she put into that performance, like to the point that I was like at press conferences with her, like trying to grab all the microphones and be like, do you guys even know what she did? It was incredible. The research and the commitment, which isn't my place or my business. So Jennifer Aniston plays a woman who has lost her son, and she's in chronic pain in her body all the time because of an accident that she was in, and she's self-medicating. And eventually she has these hallucinations about this woman who died, who was like the perfect wife and mother and kind of everything that Jennifer Aniston imagines that she's not, and I played that character. And at first, the director and I were kind of debating, is she like a supernatural like a real kind of apparition? Is she a ghost, basically? Or is she just a hallucination? Is she just a reflection of Jennifer Aniston's like self-hatred? The more that I really watched her prepare, I was like, yeah, this is just about her inner voice that tells her the worst things, you know? And it was really interesting to realize, like, oh, I'm not my own character, actually. I'm not like playing a character. I'm just tethered to Jennifer Aniston's performance, and her performance was so good that I just let that like lead me, and I was just like a mirror of like her self-hatred, and I wanted to like shout from the rooftops like how much work she had put into it, and how it was just such a gift to watch her work and to basically play a reflection of her performance.
You just use people.
Colors are beautiful.
Like a rainbow.
I went into DreamWorks and they pitched me on the idea of a Trolls movie and the character of Poppy, optimistic to the point of being a little crazy, a little unhinged. And I was like, I'm just waiting for you guys to take a breath so I can say yes, please. I was just so excited. I've always wanted to do an animated film like that, and I just felt like that was such an amazing opportunity to just fall in my lap. So after several months of recording my part, they were like, what do you think about Justin Timberlake coming on to play Branch opposite you, and also like maybe being an executive music producer? And I was like, again, this is one of those crazy situations where like, why are you asking my permission? As though I was gonna be like, ooh, I don't know. I just felt like very lucky to have JT like come in and, well, and frankly like to be a vocal producer on it. You know, like at that point I had recorded for Pitch Perfect, and you know, it's usually like a music person and a sound person going like, yeah, it sounds good. And to have like, you know, international recording superstar Justin Timberlake going like, why don't you try this riff, and like singing it, you know, into the cans, I know the lingo, and then like having me just repeat it was so cool.
Like a rainbow.
Oh, like a rainbow.
Barb's announcement makes sense. She wants to reunite the strings so the troll world can be one big party again.
I was just so excited when they said that they wanted to do a second movie, because not only do I love doing the musical element of it, where I'm just playing like a little pink character, there's something so cathartic about like going into a room and playing this kind of unhinged, happy character. It feels like a weird therapeutic exercise, like how some people like picture a happy place. I'm like, I get whatever that thing is, I get that from like playing Poppy, because she's this kind of unfiltered ball of like happiness, energy, joy, and also like I'm not gonna take it from anybody, you know? It's like she's like my own inner child or something, and I get to go and like play with her.
That's all you heard? One big party?
Stephanie, put down the gun. You don't want to do this.
I really do, though.
I think Blake and I had a really similar experience reading the script for A Simple Favor, because we could not put this script down and just like raced through it, because there were so many twists and turns and so much like humor and darkness, and there was a lot of like kind of going back and being like, is this a drama or a comedy? Like, what is it? And that was also the experience on set. Like, Blake and I got to set and basically every day asked each other, like, what movie are you in? Because I want to make sure that we're in the same movie. Because I actually said to Paul Feig early on in shooting, like, most movies, you know basically the tone and you know the genre, and you're on kind of a sliding scale of like how big and small are the choices we're going to be making. And with A Simple Favor, it felt like, oh, I can just take the knob off and just do whatever I want with it, because there's just no rules in this movie. It wasn't really until we saw the finished movie that Blake and I were like, got it, love it, so great.
I really do, though.
Hey!
Sup? Kimiko? Who's Kimiko? Holy shit.
So Dummy, the real challenge ended up being the part that we thought was gonna be the easiest part, which is that I'm acting against an inanimate object. Like, that seemed like, yeah, like we can have the shortest shooting schedule. I show up, I talk to a potato, it's great. Except that a real sex doll is not like just a potato or a dish or whatever. This diva would not sit still, would not hold a position. Ooh, everybody on set was like, I'm gonna kill her, I'm gonna kill her. So Meredith Hagner, who plays the character of the sex doll, is so brilliant. And she and I got to act opposite each other, like actually look into each other's eyes, I think once. And the rest of the time I'm acting against this doll that has like dots on its face because they're gonna replace it with Meredith's performance later. We had to hire a second prop person just to help deal with this doll because like it seems like, yeah, you throw her in a closet and then we do a whole scene where I find her in a closet and she talks to me. And she just doesn't want to do that. And it took like 2.5 hours to get her set up to the place where she would just freeze like a mannequin, which you'd think would be the whole thing that she does. I really tip my hat to people who commit to having a sex doll in their lives because it's a handful. They are so much heavier than you think they would be and unruly. Really good for you for being that committed.
I like jokingly named you Kimiko. So what about you?
My parents were the complete opposite. High school sweethearts that are somehow still in love.
That's nice.
But they're Satanists, so I guess it's not all good, right?
So Love Life, I was just really blown away by this thing in the script where you get that uncanny feeling of, I know that guy. I've been in that situation. Oh, that's exactly how that feels. I hate when that happens. I love when that happens. Like, that came up a lot in the pilot episode, and then, you know, it was my first experience with episodic TV, so I didn't realize how much the show really transforms as you go. So in the end, like, so many talented people came on to work on the show and gave their personal experiences as well, and it all got remixed to the point that I have plausible deniability, so no, it wasn't about you. I mean, it was, but I can say that it wasn't. And that's the really beautiful thing about the show, is that because people were so willing to give like the specifics of really vulnerable or funny or romantic things that had happened to them, it feels universal the more specific it is, and it feels intensely relatable. So there's so many of those like uncanny moments on the show, and that's, you know, one of the things I love most about it. The more that I've been able to work and work with really incredible people, the people that really leave an impression on me are the people who seem happy. I've worked with people who I really admire, and they turn out to be kind of miserable. And, you know, somebody like John Lithgow, though, like, I work with him and I'm just blown away by how generous he is, so encouraging and supportive, and really generous, like, with himself. He's so open and so vulnerable. And I feel like I sometimes get the self-preservation instinct and I kind of get guarded, and the kind of career I want to have is the kind where I can be as full of love for my life and for my work as somebody like John Lithgow. So that's the kind of thing that I want to model. Thanks so much, Vanity Fair, for watching the timeline of my career. I hope I was less pretentious than you were expecting.